And that was one of the big things that made me change plans and go, I'll move halfway across the country to Midland and be a part of this.
It's been a talk of the town for the past 4 months.
And this will be the new home for Zoo Midland.
A project that's been in the works for years. The Tall City will be getting some tall and short friends in the formerly Nueva Vista Golf Club's land. But with a project as large as a full-size elephant, it takes a real king of the jungle to take on something this big. And Jason Green, the zoo director, is the king of the Zoo Midland jungle.
And so for there to be this much water.
And Jason's not new to the animal kingdom, having worked with zoos for some 30-odd years. Previously working with Zoo Tampa, it's been quite a journey going from the Big Guava to the Tall City.
So it was kind of happenstance that I came to meet the investment group for Zoo Midland. They were doing a best practices. So they were going to several zoos in Florida and they were looking at different facilities, and they happened to come to the facility I was working at. And we just started talking and had, shared objectives and some shared ideas. And so we kind of spoke briefly off and on for about a year. And then they're like, we're going to do this. We'd love you to be a part of it. So I was extremely fortunate, and it's just a great opportunity.
An opportunity to create something huge for a growing city, all basically from scratch.
So here we are standing in the middle of what looks like just a big open field and a former golf course, and this will be the new home for Zoo Midland.
And part of being the king of the jungle is making sure the rest of the jungle is safe for the other animals, and you, the visitor. And being a member of organizations like the Association of Zoos and Aquariums and hearing other zoos' problems and triumphs definitely helps the process.
We want to make sure we put an incredibly good product out there for the animals and for the guest. And so, a lot of time is just spent like, is this fence right? Is this viewpoint good? Or is this enough space for the animals? And what elements can we add to make their lives very enriched? We wanted to make sure we picked animals that were appropriate to this climate. Midland kind of has a unique environment to some degree, but there's other zoos in the same climate that we can kind of utilize some of that information.
One way Green wants Zoo Midland to stand out is the accessibility you'll have to so many animals.
I think one of the biggest things and where zoos can play a huge role is having sort of that meaningful interaction with animals. It changes people. Being able to stand next to a 4,000-pound rhino, or to be able to feed a giraffe, or to be able to see a giant tortoise that can live to be 150 years old. That sort of gives us a new, greater appreciation for, the world around us and how we can help protect it and take care of it and, kind of take care of the animals and the environment in our care.
And with a clean slate like the old Nueva Vista land, there's plenty of room for ideas and creativity.
So you'll kind of come down this main path. There'll be a big parking space here. And then we'll have an event center where you can kind of almost sort of overlook this. We'll have weddings and conventions that overlook our giraffe and hoofstock savanna yard, which will be exciting. I think it'll probably be the best wedding venue in Midland, maybe in West Texas, dare I say.
The zoo in general might have the chance to be the best venue period in West Texas. And with someone who loves his job as much as Green does, there's a great chance they'll take that mantle as the place to visit in the Permian Basin. And more than anything, Green hopes he can educate the future of the Permian Basin about animals, something they might not have been exposed to before. A rewarding experience that Green hopes to fill this Green with something so wild and spread wonder to young minds.
It's the awareness and the appreciation, I think, is one of the biggest things zoos can bring to a community. Especially with kids, and zoos, a lot of times should be oriented towards the kids because you see that wonder and awe of being near those animals.
Those same kids also have the opportunity to potentially work at a zoo right in their hometown, something they haven't been able to do in over 40 years.
Yeah, that's been one of the coolest comments we've gotten from people like, oh, my daughter went off to college to she's an animal behavior, or she's, a vet tech, or he's doing this, and, because it wasn't available in Midland, that type of job. And so, now they can come back and do that, and, just how excited. And so I think that's where, Midland, I think we'll be very proud of this and, be excited and enjoy the fact that it's part of the city.
And Green isn't the only one excited for the new zoo.
The biggest thing is to see how excited everybody is. And it was awesome to see. The kids are excited, the parents are excited, and, knowing how important a zoo can be to a community and how, I think they're going to really embrace it, and they already kind of have. And, it kind of becomes like something for the city to be proud of. And, when people come into Midland, they're like, oh, you have to go to the zoo, and, you have to see this, and, to be a part of that, that's really exciting.
And people who have that excitement might not have to wait as long as they originally thought.
We'll break ground probably in the next, a month to 45 days. And so then I think a lot of people who were kind of like, really? they'll be like, oh wow, it actually is happening. Unfortunately, you know, I would love to, you know, sprinkle pixie dust and it be built, but it's going to take about 3 years to do that. And so, you know, it'll seem like a long time, and then boom, it'll be here. And so that's exciting as well.
Because who would have thought, in a town that's covered with dust and oil, the tall city is ready to take a safari ride on nature's wild side. In Midland, I'm Marcus Risen, News West 9.